Hello everyone, I'm Autobot Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing listening Transformers, Telltale games, and more. Welcome back to another Transformers EarthSpark review, where today we're going to be looking at Season 3, Episode 2 of Transformers EarthSpark, Attack of the Drive-In Movie. So, this episode is, for lack of better terms, a filler episode. Yes, it's not exactly the best filler episode in my opinion. It definitely is, in my opinion, probably the weakest episode of Season 3. But it still has some redeeming qualities in it that I did actually enjoy quite a bit. So, in my opinion though, it's not a total waste of an episode, and it does have some good moments there now, but it's mostly harmless. But I do wish though, overall though, this episode could have been about something else though, but it is still a pretty good episode. So basically, we're gonna go ahead and see everything this episode did right and what it did wrong. Episode 2 starts off with Robby heading home from school one day and catching the bus with Izzy, where as Izzy gets on the bus, who we finally see again after having last seen her back in episode 4 of Season 2, the Butterfly Effect, Robby is still clearly smitten with Izzy, and apparently, even though they've talked quite a bit probably since the events of Season 2, they haven't actually hung out at all since then. So Robby asks Izzy if she would like to hang out a bit, like, later that night, considering they don't have anything going on that day. And of course, Izzy replies. And to be fair, I think this interaction between Robby and Izzy is a lot better than a lot of the interactions they had back in Season 2, where Robby's facial animations were very stiff and looked honestly constipated compared to this. But honestly, Robby looks a lot better here. I think 88 Pictures learned a lot from their time animating Season 2 here. Granted, there are quite a few problems with this episode though still, but I think they improved a lot since Season 2 here, and it shows here in how Robby interacts with Izzy and how he reacts to her facially wise. And I think Izzy does a great job as well. Sienna Agudon does a great job as Izzy as well in this episode. So, but anyway, yeah, Izzy agrees to this little hangout slash date with Robby, which he's totally excited about, and then that leads to the main setup of this episode. So once Robby gets back to Dugout, when pretty much all the Moltos are all hanging out down there, they all ask Robby what's going on between him and Izzy, where he just says, oh, like, it's like super serious, we're just gonna like sit home and like watch funny YouTube videos on our phones, like no biggie. But then, at this point, Hashtag overhears and insists like, oh, well, you can't just watch, like, YouTube videos on a date. You gotta like be like very grand about it and watch like a big movie together and stuff like that. And that's when Nightshade overhears it too, and they explain to Robby that they decided to put together a little movie projector to create a little like drive-in movie experience for Robby and Izzy, where they mentioned how the projector was made with I think like a little 3D printer model and one of Robby's old VR headsets, to create a very immersive movie experience. That they mention it like in this point where they say that the projector can transmit anything into the movie and vice versa. It's like, it's such a small throwaway line, but I think it's pretty important that Nightshade just drops out of the middle of nowhere and then no one comments on it later on until like halfway through the episode. Like, come on, Nightshade, like, you don't think this is something that was worth important telling the whole family? But I digress. Anyway, though, Robby agrees to it, and we get this very, honestly, like, a very cute moment here where, Dot and, Alex pick up Izzy from school or wherever she comes from. I don't know. I don't want to spoil what happens with Izzy later on this season just yet, but it makes me wondering, like, how exactly Dot and Alex picked up Izzy, knowing, what it becomes of her later on this season. But anyway, as they are all heading over to the drive-in movie theater with Robby and being like very embarrassing parents as usual. I tell you this one bit where Jawbreaker, Twitch, Hashtag, and Nightshade all like crash they're all like flying and driving beside Dot and Alex, like introducing themselves to Izzy and embarrassing Robby further. I think that's cute. What is interesting though is the fact that Mo is wearing her cyber suit while she's riding Thrash, and it just feels awkward to have her right there. Like, she couldn't just wear a regular motorcycle helmet like she did in Season 1. Why she had to wear her full cyber suit to a drive-in movie? It just feels awkward in my opinion. But anyway, though, like, they all get to the movie, and there's a lot of people there where Robby asks hashtag why there are so many people there when it was just supposed to be a simple drive-in date between Robby and Izzy. And hashtag explains that she apparently promoted the whole drive-in thing on her social media profiles, which we saw a bit of this back in season 2, especially in episode 8, where hashtag put it create a dating profile for Optimus with her own social media. So it is cool to show that, like, hashtag true to her nature is still very in keen with social media. I think that's a nice little thing. But it is funny, like, seeing, like, all these other people there. One thing, though, I want to point out, it's a very small, like, little clip that only shows up for maybe, like, 2 seconds. But as the movie is playing that Robby and Izzy are watching, you can actually see in one of the other cars, Mr. Smelt is there, who was Robby and Moe's teacher back in episode 7 of season 1. But he's there with another man in his car, and I don't know, man, the way that they two of them are hanging out, I think it's a little bit more than just friends. So I think that's so cool. Again, we saw this back in season 1, episode 2, where when Moet was trying to help Thrash find a in all mode, they saw the gay couple with their child, with their baby in the cradle. I think this is another, like, small little, like, throwaway, like, very background thing of showing another LGBTQ plus character in this show. And of course, we obviously have Nightshade, of course, who is one of our main characters and is canonically non-binary. But to have this one little throwaway, like, picture or, like, clip, like, it's like literally 2-3 seconds long of Mr. Smelt presumably with his boyfriend or a date at this theater, I think that's a really cool thing to show, honestly, in my opinion. So kudos to you for 88 Pictures and the EarthSpark team in general for letting this happen. But anyway, the movie starts, and this is where I sort of get into the cons of this episode. Though, there is one last little thing I do appreciate about this episode. It's the fact that we actually have a few Decepticons show up in this episode. So, as the movie's about to start, hashtag explains to Robby and Izzy that the movie is a 50s horror movie that she had picked out earlier. I think it's called, like, Attack of the Mole Bots or something like that. And like, it's weird because throughout the whole episode, I think they refer to them as Mobots instead, though the credits credit them as Mole Bots instead. So I don't know if that's just because, like, I'm mishearing it properly, or just for some reason the actual dialogue is Mobots, but the credits credit them as Molebots. But anyway, it feels very much so like a episode of the 2012 Ninja Turtles series, honestly, if I'm being real here. And so, as they're watching the movie, though, as Robby and Izzy are trying to enjoy it, hashtag and Nightshade actually noticed that, Frenzy and Laserbeak are watching the movie as well through the dome. They have these, like, little chairs propped that we'll see them, like, interact with the Terrans and Moltos throughout the course of this episode. And I think it's also very funny seeing, like, them interact with it. Like, granted, it's a very small part of this episode, but it is cool to see Laserbeak and, Frenzy interact, and great to hear Tiana Camacho back as Frenzy after she last voiced her in season 1. I very much so missed her, and I think she voices her a few more times later on this season. If not, though, this is the only time really she does speak as Frenzy in this season. But again, she gets a lot to do in this episode, so I am happy for that. And I love the little banter here where it's like Frenzy and, like, Laserbeak are, like, just mocking the movie the whole time, and then hashtags, like, threatening them through the dome, and Nightshade's trying to, like, calm her down and not let her, like, ruin Robby and Izzy's dates, and I think that is pretty funny. But the problem I have, like, the main part of this episode is, like, just, like, pretty much, like, the middle part of this episode. So, as everyone is watching this horror movie, at some point, I think it's Nightshade or hashtag gets scared, so they nudge the projector a little bit, like, as they flinch in fear, and that presses a button on projector that causes the movie to be scanned and causes a Molebot to essentially come to life out of the movie and start causing chaos outside of the dome. They start, like, messing around with the other people at the movie theater, at the drive-in theater, and, like, messing around with the Moltos as well, and hashtag Jawbreaker, Twitch and Thrash, everyone else is trying to stop it, and, well, at the same time trying to keep Robby in the dark and have him enjoy his date with Izzy. And the few bits here with Robby and Izzy actually genuinely interacting are sweet, but there are a few problems I have here. Specifically, there's one bit here where, there's a few, like, so, like, at some points, like, as the Mobots gets, like, more, like, hyperactive and starts, like, causing more trouble to distract them, Jawbreaker and Twitch, like, start doing, like, 4D effects to the movie, like, where, when there's a big windstorm in the movie, Jawbreaker throws a bunch of leaves at Twitch, and she uses her, like, turbines to, like, blow the leaves into Robby and Izzy's faces, or when there's a rainstorm, they throw water in their faces. It's just, like, it might just be me, but it's a pet peeve of mine when, like, when there's stuff like this and, like, the main character's friends in a cartoon or sitcom go out of their way, like, so vehemently to try and distract them from what's going wrong. And it's not the fact that I have a problem with it, it's just that I feel like it makes Robby and to a lesser extent Izzy come across like idiots. Like, there's literally this one point where Robby and Izzy are like watching the movie, like drying their face off in the water Twitch throws in their faces, and the Molebot comes into the back of the car they're sitting in, trying to attack Twitch, and they end up going through the windshield of the car. There's a very audible glass breaking noise, and yet Robby and Izzy pay it no mind, or think it's just another one of Twitch and Jawbreaker's hijinks. Like, I'm sorry, would you not be concerned about hearing glass breaking, Robby? Like, what? It just makes no sense, and honestly makes Robby seem like more of an idiot than he should be. I get it, he's a 14-year-old boy, but still, it really doesn't seem very in character for Robby. Just take that so nonchalantly, and it just confusing, because this episode was written by Ian Bush, who previously wrote episodes 2 and 7 of Season 2. That was Episode 2, In Ruins, and Episode 7, The Imposters of Season 2, and he wrote one of my favorite episodes of Season 1, Episode 4, House Rules. So it makes me wonder, why did he write Robby and Izzy so, dumb in this episode? When he's clearly capable of writing them rather well in other episodes, why did he write them so idiotic, for lack of better terms, in this episode? I'm not trying to knock his writing, but it just doesn't come across like the best choice, in my opinion. There are a few other, like, cute moments, though, I do like in this episode. Like, for example, Alex offering a traditional Filipino drink to, Robby, and Izzy once again further showing off to the audience that Alex is a Filipino man. I like that they're incorporating more of his culture into the show. And there's one point where Thrash offers like meals to Robby and Izzy. Granted, he doesn't know how to cook, so it's all kind of inedible to them, but it's like a nice gesture by Thrash, and I really appreciate seeing this side of him too in the show. But it's so just downtrodden by just how idiotic this episode makes Robby, and to a lesser extent Izzy. And granted, what we know about Izzy too, I don't know if she's either playing dumb or she just genuinely doesn't know, and it just makes them both come across like idiots, and I don't like that. But anyway, as the movie continues and the Twitch and the other Multos try to stop this Molebot, the Molebot ends up making its way back to the projector that Nightshade made, and ends up like reprogramming it and causing a whole army of Molebots to be brought to life from the movie. And so they start wreaking havoc everywhere else, again, without Robby and Izzy noticing somehow. So all the other Multos have to try and stop the Molebot army from interrupting Robby and Izzy's dates. And as they're doing it, though, the Molebots manage to hijack the projector once more to summon this giant, like, mother Molebot, as the rest of the Terrans call it. I think Hashtag refers to it as the mother Molebot or Mama Molebot at some point. And it reaches its hand through the movie screen, which Robby and Izzy, like cast aside as, like, oh, just super realistic 3D effects. And it picks up the whole car, and then as Twitch and Nightshade, or Hashtag and Nightshade, try to, stop the projector, they end up accidentally projecting Robby and Izzy inside of the movie. So this part I actually do like. I love how the whole bits where Robby and Izzy are inside the movie fighting the Mama Molebot, it is in black and white, and they even have like an old like 50s like radio filter to their dialogue as they speak in the movie. I do think that is really cool, seeing Robby and Izzy fight the Molebot in here. But again, it just comes across like idiotic that Robby didn't know what was going on until it was too late. I feel like the writers made him more stupid just for the sake of the plot, and I really didn't like that. In one scene here, when Robby and Izzy are running away from the Mama Molebot, they basically have the same problem that Mo had back in episode 4 of season 1, where it feels like she was running on stilts, essentially, or running a lot slower than she should be. that's what Robby and Izzy have. Like, here, take a look at this one scene when Robby and Izzy are running away from the Mama Molebot. They're running, like, really fast, but they're moving far less than I feel like they should. And it just comes across very poor animation in my regard. And it's unfortunately very, very noticeable. There are many times when I can excuse poor animation, but this time, I just couldn't. It doesn't look good in my opinion, unfortunately. But anyway, as the movie continues, Robby and Izzy are able to defeat the Mama Molebot, but as they're celebrating their victory, hashtag back in the real world realizes that she accidentally grabbed the wrong movie, apparently, where it's not like it's just a Molebot movie, it's a Molebot movie crossover with this like Godzilla parody called like Nukatron or something like that. I forget the actual, or Nukezilla or something like that. And she explains to them that, like, they only have a few, like, minutes now before Nukezilla or Nukatron, whatever the monster's name is, destroys the whole city that Robby and Izzy are in. And I do like this one bit where, Robby and Izzy are trying to run away from Nukatron or whatever its name is, but they run into, like, this big, giant matte painting of a city skyscraper, or, like, landscape, and Robby makes comments like, oh, they ran out of budget here, they spent all their budget on the effects for this movie, and I feel like it's a funny thing, like, for this 1950s horror movie that Robby and Izzy get sucked into. Another part I like about it is how in the movie, when Robby and Izzy are fighting all the tiny Molebots, even the Mama Molebot, they're all held up together by little strings to show that's like an old 50s movie. I do like that, where like as in the real world, all the Molebots are actually sentient and all that, which kind of confuses me then, because if the Molebots are just puppets in the movie, how did they come to life in the real world? I don't know, but we'll just chalk it up to like because the plot demanded or something. But anyway, as Nukatron goes to destroy the whole city, Robby believes he and Izzy are both gonna die, and he admits he has romantic feelings towards Izzy, and Izzy reciprocates those feelings, and just they're about to kiss and die by Nukatron or whatever its name is. Hashtag and Nightshade managed to capture Robby and Izzy at the perfect moment in the movie and transport them back into the real world, and save them in the process. So as everyone is glad to see Robby and Izzy okay, Robby apologizes to Izzy for nearly getting her killed on their date, but asks if she's willing to go on another one with him, and Izzy agrees to it, and then ends the episode by kissing Robby on the cheek. And it is a cute ending for Robby and Izzy, I agree, and it does set up a very big plot point that will happen to Robby and Izzy later on this season, but I just feel like that this whole episode, between all the animation errors and just the weird writing choices with Robby and Izzy, it just didn't work. And then there's like a very, very weird and cheap jump scare at the very end when Robby and Izzy are just walking about the family. A Molebot jumps in front of the screen, presumably to scare the audience, and it just feels like very lame in my opinion. I get that it's because it's a horror episode, so yeah, like, oh, make a jump scare for the kids at the very end, but it just doesn't work in my opinion, and I didn't like it. And so, that was my review of Transformers EarthSpark Season 3, Episode 2, Attack of the Drive-In Movie. If I had to rate this episode, I would sadly have to give it a 5.5 to a 6 out of 10. It wasn't a horrible episode, it just wasn't my cup of tea. If you would like this episode, that's great, more power to you. I'm not going to say that, like, you're wrong for liking this episode. It does have its good moments. I like Robby and Izzy's interactions throughout. Their whole fight with the Mama Molebots inside the movie was cool. I love how the aesthetics of the movie world looked, and having Frenzy and Laserbeak show up and, like, provide commentary throughout the whole episode was very, very funny. But at the same time, I feel like the episode just makes Robby and Izzy seem like idiots, and the animation errors in this episode were very, very hard to ignore, and it just really disappoints me in my opinion because of that. But anyway, that's going to be for this episode. I'll be back next week with episode 3, The Great Escape. If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you guys later.